Doc, stand by. Stream one's working.
We're here for another show, and anything I say is not intended to bypass your medical doctor. Check with your physician before attempting to implement any of the things we're about to suggest. With that being said, let's dive right into all the questions that are lined up right now.
All right, very good. Good morning, everyone. Steve here, and let's start off with BOMAC23 from Rumble. What is the most non-invasive diagnostic tool you would use to identify cancer?
I don't think there is a non-invasive way to identify cancer. I know there's a PET scan, but depending on what type, what stage it is, where it's located, it's really hard to know without doing an invasive test. Unfortunately, I think the best action to do, which would be to actively and aggressively try to prevent cancer by living a healthy lifestyle. That would be my best suggestion.
All right, very good. Listen, we've got a full house this morning, 4 people stacked up. So I'd like to bring on from Istanbul, Samira. And Samira, please go ahead with your one question for Dr. Berg.
Hello, Dr. Berg. Thanks for having me on the show. I recently began the keto and intermittent fasting. My question is, for how long should I continue keto diet plan after reaching my ideal weight? And also, I have 50 grams of protein and 100 grams of fat intake per day. Can I count on protein intake from other animal products such as kefir or bone broth or even tahini? Thanks.
Good question. Well, now that you lost the weight, you can now go back to your old diet, whatever that was, and I'm being very sarcastic. What I would recommend is to continue that diet because it's work, because it's more than just about weight loss, just having a healthy eating. Now, what happens is as you do this over a period of time, your metabolism becomes healthier, more flexible to be able to eat different things. And sometimes you might have to test the water to see what that means, because sometimes people are really, really strict, and then they want to know, when can I go to my normal foods? Well, it really has to do with your level of health and how much buffer reserve you have left. If you can afford to use some of that buffer reserve, which a lot of people can't, then you could probably go off here and there. But again, it depends on what you're trying to deal with in your health state. The more problems you have, the more strict you have to stick to it. Then the other question is, with protein intake, do you count from all different sources? Yes, but I would not get into this thing about having a very specific amount of protein, because it's really hard to know how much protein you need. People will give you a formula, but I disagree, because you have your age, sex, activity level, your digestion, your personal need for protein. It's one of those things that you're gonna have to play around and then see where the sweet spot is based on how you feel, how you respond to exercise. And some people, like, for example, with me per meal, I will consume probably 9 ounces of protein in a given meal. But for other people, it might be 6. Other people, it might be 12. Really depends on a lot of factors. I'll do one heavy protein meal, but then I might do a light protein the next meal. And it also, if I'm exercising more, I'll do more. But realize this, the majority of protein is not going to fuel. It's going to repair the tissues. So if you have too much, then your body will use some of that for fuel. But then it can also go to, the liver has to deal with the excess, and it puts a strain on the body.
All right, Samira, thanks so much for a great call. Hope that helps. And Samira, this is for you too. Let's go with quiz question number 1. There you go, Doc.
True or false? Dopamine gives your brain the pleasure sensation.
Oh, I certainly hope so. Let's go back to social media. And Amnar from YouTube, can you please share some foods that would be helpful in preventing slowing down cognitive decline? There's a good one.
Omega-3 fatty acids. So that would be like cod liver oil or fish oils. Cod liver oil is a little bit better because it has vitamin A and vitamin D. And also the reduction of carbohydrates and sugars and starches. That's really, really important. And the reduction of seed oils, or the elimination of seed oils from the diet, aka junk foods. But as far as to build up the cognitive function, people need that DHA in the omega-3 fatty acids. And then also a good amount of vitamin B1 is helpful, as well as vitamin D and magnesium.
Sorry for stepping on you, Doc. Mary Moore from Rumble. What is a natural way, if there is one, to keep hepatitis B and C in remission?
Taking a lot of things that support the immune system, including zinc, vitamin D, especially vitamin D in higher doses, and getting a lot of sun so you get the infrared, eating clean, keeping your stress low, having a good amount of sleep, because you really want to build up the immune system and make sure the immune system has everything it needs to support and protect you against these viruses.
All right, very good. Doc the Lake from YouTube. I can't digest fiber. It causes bleeding in the intestines. I get tired of people telling me to eat plants. What would you suggest?
Sometimes people might even suggest, well, just eat more. I've heard that before, believe me. But no, you should eliminate fiber. Fiber is not good for people with inflammation in the gut. It's going to create a lot of problems. So what's really interesting, just looking at plants, you have a lot of anti-nutrients in there that can irritate you, like lectins and oxalates and phytic acid and all these different things. But the cool thing is, if you ferment them or even soak them or even cook them, you can break down a lot of these anti-nutrients and make them more digestible. Fermentation is amazing, especially for the gut. But for you, I think I would just go carnivore. And then for other people that maybe have it more in a mild way, especially if they have like gastritis or an ulcer, cabbage seems to be amazing because it has sulforaphane, which is good to put H. pylori into remission, which is behind ulcers. But it also has another compound, vitamin U, which is methylmethionine, which helps heal and build up that mucus layer for ulcers. So anyway, there's a lot of amazing benefits with fermented vegetables, especially sauerkraut. I am like very interested in that topic. I will be doing more videos on it. And I mean, I think a perfect meal would be like animal meat and sauerkraut. That would be like amazing. And probably some high quality cheese, because that gives you the dairy without, and the microbes without the lactose.
Wow. Well, I hope that helps. All right. Quiz question number one, asked to the audience. So true, false, or dopamine, that wonderful stuff, gives your brain the pleasure sensation. 100% of respondents say it's true.
It does not.
Huh?
It doesn't. It's not the pleasure one. It actually causes you to want something. It motivates you to go after something, and it mainly increases in the anticipation of getting something. Like that piece of cake, Steve, that you really are looking at. Like when you start eyeing that thing, it's like all of a sudden dopamine goes up. But as soon as you eat it, dopamine can go up, but it's not the pleasure. It's then you get serotonin, oxytocin, and then also endorphins that give you the pleasure. So dopamine's all about the anticipation. It kind of the motivation to drive you to do certain things. And then when you do it chronically, if you're chronically eating this thing and chronically increasing dopamine, then dopamine crashes more and it starts to affect your mood. And then you can actually have it You can kind of go down the emotions into kind of be more apathetic or dull. And then when you're addicted, it's no longer going after that high. It's kind of preventing the withdrawals, the crash, and so now the motivation is shifted because of the pressure or pain or uncomfortableness that comes with the chronic stimulation of these neurotransmitters.
Wow, what a mess. Let's go with quiz question number 2. There you go.
True or false? Diabetes is diagnosed when you have 2 teaspoons of sugar in all of your blood.
Wow. Audience, climb on that, which we know you will. All right, let's go to Rita from YouTube. Excuse me, she slipped down. Rita from YouTube, what can I do to get rid of dermatitis of the ears? I take your vitamin D3. Is there anything else I should be doing for that?
Well, I would look at your diet, and are you having any seed oils? Are you having anything that can create inflammation? I would need to know about your microbiome. Is that a lot of the stuff on the skin, including the ears and the scalp, are coming from something that happened in the microbiome, an antibiotic, eating bad foods. But I would start to build up the microbiome I have a lot of videos on this, and see if it doesn't go away. But a lot of skin issues can be improved with having sufficient amounts of vitamin D, and also exposure to the sun that goes beyond just vitamin D. It gives you a lot of other things.
All right, very good. Tony from YouTube, is there a connection between the keto diet and non-diabetic peripheral neuropathy?
Well, is there a connection? Well, you could, like, if you had chemotherapy, you can get peripheral neuropathy, diabetes, peripheral neuropathy, other things, heavy metal poisoning can give you peripheral neuropathy. So by going on keto, that can greatly help the fuel to feed the nerves. But I think in addition to that, you may greatly benefit from benfotiamine, as well as its sidekick called alpha lipoic acid. Both of those are amazing for peripheral neuropathy from all causes.
All right, very good. Let's go with our second guest of the day, a nice fellow named Carlo, and he's from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Go ahead with your one question for Dr. Berg, Carlo.
Hello, Doc. Good morning. This is a great privilege to having this interview with you. I just have a question because I did carnivore diet for 2 months, and my main goal was to reverse my insulin resistance, and the weight loss was really, really, really good. I had lost my brain fog and a lot of improvement. And my question now, because at first, during my first month, my blood pressure went down, and during my second month, upon checking, my blood pressure went up. I don't know what I am not doing right, but yeah, I just wanted to know why it went up. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so there's could be a lot of reasons. I'd have to spend more time to get more details, but I'm going to give you a couple of tips. I know in that part of the world, you're in the north, so it's not easy to get enough vitamin D from the sun. Low vitamin D can raise your blood pressure. Low potassium can raise your blood pressure, and it's hard to get 4,700 milligrams of potassium on a carnivore diet. So, and magnesium also. So maybe you take those supplements and then see if that actually brings it down. The other thing you could potentially try, and this really depends on an individual. Like I personally, I'm not carnivore, but I've tried it. I think it's great for some people, but I like the combination of certain vegetables, and especially the fermented. So you may, at this point, test out to see if you added some sauerkraut or maybe some fermented vegetables to this, and see what happens, because now you have a little bit more fiber to potentially support more of the microbiome. But again, we don't really know long term if your microbes can live on other things. But I know it does eat fiber. So adding some really good high quality raw sauerkraut to your carnivore diet, see what happens with that. the amount of vitamin C that's in even 1 cup of sauerkraut, it's like 700 milligrams. That's 10 times the RDA. So it can actually provide you a lot of different benefits, including these additional enhancements. And it's really gut friendly, and it's very, there's a lot of enhanced digestion that occurs. And there's also a reduction of anti-nutrients when you take these fermented vegetables.
All right, Carlo, thank you so much. We appreciate a good call from way up north in Calgary. Hope that helps. And Carlo, again, is for everyone. This is for you. And we asked you, Carlo, true, false. Diabetes is diagnosed when you have 2 tablespoons of sugar in your entire amount of blood. 58% of respondents say it's true. 42% say that's not true. Doc, who's the winner?
So if you look at normal blood sugars is just 1 teaspoon of sugar, okay, in the blood. If you look at what diabetes is, or let's just say pre-diabetes, that's 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. And diabetes is 2 teaspoons of sugar in all of your blood. Now, you might say, well, it doesn't seem like a lot. Does that mean if I have 2 teaspoons of sugar, I'm going to get diabetes? Like, no. I'm talking about like on a fasting sugar when you test it, when you didn't eat anything. Because the body has a very tight control mechanism to keep that sugar down to 1 teaspoon. Like, that's its goal. And so when it can't do that because the pancreas is exhausted, it can no longer pump out enough insulin. Then what happens is it tends to now sugar starts going up, but only by 2 teaspoons. So what can we learn from this? Our bodies do not like sugar, okay? But the average person consumes literally 50 to 100 teaspoons of sugar. I'm including all the hidden starches with that. So, I mean, it's fascinating because you have the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is over all the dietitians, right? This is where people go to get trusted health information and nutrition information. Like, if you just really listen to what they're recommending, they're very cautious on demonizing any one food. Their motto is like, there is no any bad food or good food. It's all about portion control and moderation. You can have these foods. These foods can make up a healthy diet as long as it's not out of control. But the problem is, every single ingredient that's in junk food is designed and engineered to hook you and make you addicted. So just try to have portion control when you eat this food. Try to eat just one and see what happens. And you're going to quickly find out it's impossible. And unfortunately, the dietitians, their dietitian group in general has been kind of captured by big food. I mean, they're funded in the millions by the junk food industry and the pharmaceutical industry and the pesticide industry. In fact, this is even shocking. You might want to be sitting down when you listen to this, but that organization that trains and certifies and educates the dietitians on a regular basis actually invests in junk food companies. Hundreds of thousands of dollars investing in those companies, as well as Big Pharma. Now, to me, that just causes me to lose all trust in that organization. I don't know about you, but when we're trying to get information on health, you can kind of read through the lines and see now why they water down this information and why they don't want to demonize sugar too much or starches.
So moderation is the answer. Lori, pass me the Crisco. All right, let's go with quiz number 3 for the day, and there it is.
Okay, can cortisol stress raise your blood sugars?
All right, audience, climb on that. And then let's continue with our full bank of participants today. And this time we're going to go to, where are you from? Patrick from Winter Haven, Florida. And Patrick, if you would go ahead with your one question for Dr. Berg. Patrick, I think you've muted yourself.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
You bet.
Yep.
All right. Hello, Dr. Berg. Nice to meet you. It's It's a privilege. My question is, somebody who's living a fairly healthy life, drinking mineral water with lemon in it, intermittent fasting with a whole food diet, daily exercise, supplementing for deficiencies to also include NAD plus, glutathione, liposomal with milk thistle and glutamine, as well as your smoothie recipe, the kale, kefir, blueberries with beet powder. How well or not well does this type of lifestyle counter the negative effects of alcohol?
That's a really good question, because a lot of things that you told me definitely support a healthy liver, and they're definitely going to counter the effects for sure. But it's I don't know to what degree. I just don't know. It really depends on how much alcohol, and the challenge with the alcohol is the alcohol turns into a byproduct that's very toxic on the liver, and so it takes a certain amount of time for that liver to heal and get rid of that. But of course, some of the things you're doing are mitigating that. They're buffering that response. So I guess it's kind of a question of how much alcohol you're drinking and how often. But it definitely does support the liver and protect the liver to a certain degree. Out of all the things nutrition-wise that will probably be the strongest protection in the liver is milk thistle. That's the strongest. It has some fascinating properties of protection. The other thing that I always recommend for people is to have, if you want to create a similar effect, it's not the same, is kombucha tea, and you put it in a glass. It's like the consistency of beer. It does relax people. It's carbonated drink. So that's one thing I always recommend for people to try.
All right. Well, good luck with that. I hope a little milk thistle and so on will help out. Appreciate a good call. And once again, this time we're going to ask you as well, Patrick, to consider quiz question number 3, and we've got an answer for it. And it asks, can cortisol stress raise your blood sugars? 100% of the respondents say yes. Are they all brilliant?
They're all brilliant. They're all correct. And it can really spike your blood sugars. In fact, when you go through a lot of stress, it's very similar to eating sugar. Other things can indirectly spike cortisol as well, not sleeping. So when you're not sleeping, your body's making more sugar. And then I'm going to stop right there because some further questions that we're going to ask you relate to the next thing I was going to tell you. So I'll stop.
Interesting, but I won't stop, Doc. I will bring up that question. Here it is, number 4.
Okay. Why is cellulite on your thighs the most difficult fat to lose?
It's a nightmare. And Doc, if you'll remember, I'd love to see, do guys ever get it? We won't answer that now, but I was interesting. It seems like it's a female condition. But anyway, we'll get to that when the folks answer, I guess. And let's move on with our astute audience. And let's go to Kristen from YouTube. Do we need to add fat-soluble vitamins after gallbladder surgery?
No, you need to add the bile to help you dissolve the fat-soluble vitamins that you're consuming in your diet or you're taking supplement-wise, because without that bile, you can't extract that fat from the food or the fat-soluble nutrients. Now, people will say, well, you'll have your gallbladder out. You're still making bile from the liver. It's true, yeah, but you no longer have the same regulation. You no longer have the concentration of bile in the gallbladder. And so now we lose the regulation, and now we're not going to get the same effect. So you just have to watch and start double checking to see if once that gallbladder is removed, if there is going to be a problem with that. And you could probably notice if your stool starts floating or it's light colored, or you start noticing like, wow, I can't really see when I'm driving in the night when it's dusk like I used to. It's really hard to see at night. That's one indication that you're vitamin A deficient. So, or you start getting all of a sudden like really severe low back pain that radiates to your hips. that's a classic vitamin D deficiency that can go into your thighs as well.
All right, that sounds terrible. Okay, let's go to our final guest of the day, and he's a nice guy named Will. And Will, I didn't ask you where you're coming from. Where are you calling in from, sir?
Calling in from Glendale, Arizona.
Terrific town. Yes, you did, and I forgot it. Go ahead with your one question for Dr. Berg, please.
What I was wondering, Dr. Berg, is I've been hearing a lot about xylitol lately, and I was wondering if you could fill us in on if it's really as beneficial as they're saying for oral health.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting you said that, because I've been looking at that. You know, they have xylitol gum, and it does have some interesting benefits to even protecting you against cavities, which is fascinating. It also can decrease biofilms, tartar, things like that. So I think it's a good source of oral health if you wanted to do that. But just realize, as a sugar alcohol, that it kind of something to help lower the sugar, it still does affect the sugar about, on the glycemic index, I think it's 30. It's low, but it's still like not 100%, like maybe erythritol. I think it's a really good substitute for sugar for a lot of people, because it tastes just like sugar, and that's what I used, but I don't really need it anymore. But I do not see any negative effects against xylitol other than that one little point. But it's good to prevent cavities, and some people use it to reduce biofilms in different parts in their body, which are kind of like it's a microbe that's living in this igloo of this protection that's kind of underneath the radar that can create various problems.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Will, from Arizona. And let's move on to Angeline from YouTube. Would TUDCA help with urinary incontinence?
I don't know. Try it and see, because it's one of those things that if you've tried everything else and it doesn't work, you try TUDCA, and it seems to be that last remedy that works, because it creates such a systemic effect. But anything related to the bladder, I would definitely also focus on getting rid of anything that resembles snacking and carbohydrates, because a lot of times with insulin resistance, it starts affecting the bladder, the valves, the quantity of urine, more at night, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, very good. Let's go to, let's see, Kendra from YouTube. What diet would you recommend for someone with kidney disease and told to avoid meats?
Well, if you have stage 5 kidney disease, you need to be under supervision. You got to be very careful, because now the kidney can't filter out all these different things, and more protein can be problematic. So it's I don't really know what stage you're at, but just think about what happens with different levels of kidney disease. When you start having kidney damage, you start leaking out protein in the urine, and you need a certain amount of protein in the blood to maintain the fluid balance in your tissues. And so a lot of the edema that occurs from kidney damage occurs from a deficiency of protein in the blood, because you're peeing it all out. So in one sense, you need sufficient amount of protein, but then you also need to help heal the kidney. One super important way to help heal the kidney is periodic prolonged fasting with regular intermittent fasting, and avoiding any type of refined carbohydrates, because that's the number one root cause. It really creates a destruction type, especially when you develop diabetes.
All right, very good. In addition to a great call from Istanbul and Canada and Phoenix and so on, let's see who else is joining us today. So we'd like to say a good day to all of those folks joining us today from the UK, Mexico, Jordan, Armenia, Nigeria, Maldives, I think, or however you say that, Cameroon, Switzerland, Iran, Oman, Turkey, Trinidad and Tobago, Brunei, Ethiopia, Panama, Norway, Japan, Romania, Indonesia, the Czech Republic, Ukraine, Italy, the Philippines, Chile, Germany, Brazil, Ireland, Vietnam, Slovakia, Pakistan, Eritrea, Sweden, Sri Lanka, Qatar, Malta, France, Australia, Venezuela, Finland, Israel, Austria, South America, Scotland, Samoa, Ghana, the Netherlands, Ecuador, Colombia, Egypt, India, Poland, Greece, Denmark, Belgium, Peru, New Zealand, and all across these United States of America. So, wow, what a wonderful mouthful of humanity they are listening to us from all over the globe. Let's go to Corrine from YouTube. What causes salivary gland stones, and how can we prevent them?
I did a video on this, and one of the things that I would beef up, no pun intended, is more magnesium. Magnesium tends to help regulate calcium with additional vitamin K2, which helps prevent this soft tissue calcium or calcification in the soft tissues throughout the whole body. So vitamin K2 is one of those things that a lot of people don't even know about. And the question is, where do you get vitamin K2? It's actually it's in certain fats. It's in certain grass-fed butter. It's in pate. It's in liver. It's in certain high-quality cheeses, and it's even in sauerkraut. So you can get this vitamin K2, and it can help you remove the soft tissue calcification.
All right, very good. Now let's go to quiz question number 4. We're going to answer it, and it says, why is cellulite on the thighs the most difficult to lose? And a shout out to Terry, our producer, because he put this huge answer in here. Answer: 47% of our respondents say it's because of the hormonal functions of estrogen. 30% say it's because of the lack of exercise in that area. 13% say it's because of the patterns of the connective tissue in that area. And 10% say it's because of the fat's location in the subcutaneous layer, which resists any topical remedies. Thank you, Terry.
Okay, so Steve, have you ever had Wagyu beef?
I just did a little sampler plate of it not long ago, and yes, it was delicious. First time.
Yeah, so we're dealing with a marbleization effect.
Yep.
And a lot of the cellulite in women, especially as they go through menopause, especially if they're more sedentary, is you start getting this marbleization effect, very similar to Wagyu beef, which is not a healthy situation, because we're not just talking about fat that's just underneath the skin. We're talking about fat that is around the muscle fibers and even inside the muscle fiber structure, the scaffolding. And so one of the big challenges as people get older and they're more sedentary is they start to get something a lot deeper, where the muscle is atrophying and the fat and scar tissue is replacing that. And so it gives you a situation which looks like cellulite, but it's really a combination of atrophy and replacement of the muscle for fat. And again, this is why it's so vital as you get older to keep consistent exercise implemented in your lifestyle, especially in the leg muscles. There's a whole bunch of fascinating data to show that your leg muscles are kind of a good indicator for longevity. You know, not just trip and falling, but just the state of your muscle itself. Because when you start losing your muscle, it's called sarcopenia, as you age, you lose a lot of your metabolism. So that being said, when you start to get on a exercise program and a diet program, and you have your legs, you're trying to work on your legs, and you notice you're not losing any weight, and you get frustrated, I think it's you have to realize that to get that muscle back, sometimes it could be permanent if you let it go too far. But to get that muscle back, it takes months, if not some years, of building that muscle back. And you're not going to see weight loss right off the bat because you're trying to build the muscle up, right? What you're going to see as the better indicator is more strength. So you're going to notice that you're stronger and stronger, and that means that it's working. So your goal, if you have problems with your thighs, would be to focus on strength and making sure you keep working it. And as it gets stronger, then you'll see it will get better and better over time. But you want, and for those of you watching that don't have this problem, and you're female especially, highly recommend that you do everything you can to prevent it, because once you get it, it's very difficult to get rid of that problem, because you're not just dealing with fat. It's even worse than visceral fat around the organs and the liver. Out of all the things that you can fix fast, it's a fatty liver. Fatty liver, you can get rid of fat out the liver in days. I mean, it's just so quick.
Wow.
But the problem with the thighs is all the fat around the thigh muscle has to be used up locally. Like the liver can transport the fat to different parts of the body, but in order to use up that fat around the muscles on your legs, you have to actually work the muscle and keep that fat gone. And this is why the low carb diet is so important too.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, I know we just covered this topic. Did we do it in a question or something from the audience? Let's show.
Yeah, Steve, I think I did
Spill
cover
the
it, so I'm going
beans.
to do it again. I'm
Good.
going to do it again just in case anyone was sleeping or zoned out. True or false? There are no good or bad foods. All foods can be a part of a healthy diet in moderation.
All right, audience, climb on that. And just again, a follow-up question: can guys, or maybe you said it, I can't remember, get cellulite? I just don't think I've ever seen a dude with cellulite.
Sometimes, but not often. Women have higher amounts of estrogen, so that's going to also influence the shape of the lower part of the body. Also, the amount of fat that's superficial around the tissues.
Okay, very good. And we don't want to leave out another shout out from viewers in Morocco, Algeria, Malaysia, Kenya, Macedonia, and Argentina who just chimed in, not wanting to be left out. So thank you, folks, too. We include you in the great list of terrific viewers and listeners to this show. Narges from YouTube: what is a natural alternative, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs? So something besides that stuff.
The best natural alternative to NSAID would be high doses of vitamin D3.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Grab those. All right, let's see. Oh, quiz question number 5. Man, this audience is fast. Okay, it was a true falser. But anyway, and it asked, true falser are no good or bad foods. All foods can be part of a healthy diet in moderation. And 99% of the respondents say it's false. And 1% says, nah, I'm having the chips.
Well, that 1% is probably a dietitian. But, I'm not saying all dietitians follow the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, but that organization is so corrupt, and unfortunately they influence a lot of policy. And right on their website it says I think they say we're the trusted source of nutrition. But you know what I would recommend? Why don't you give all that money back and stop investing in big pharma and big drug? Then I may start trusting you. But you're watering down. There are bad foods, Steve. There are bad foods and there are good foods. But please explain to me how industrial starch is not a bad food. Right now, the amount of money that goes into engineering every single ingredient, from mouthfeel, how food tastes in your mouth. That's like the first entry. Like everything, like they can manipulate food to make it just, wow, it tastes kind of creamy, and then contrast with crunchy, and then the taste of sweet, and then the flavor enhancers, like just in the the flavorings, they have literally over 80 to 200 different chemicals to make it so it's amazing. It has more sensation for different things than real food, but then it drops off. So they can make it kind of come up and come down. And so you're just, oh gosh, I'm not satisfied. And you need one more Dorito. Oh, no, I need one more. And that was me. You're stuck in this whole thing. It's all designed to get you hooked. And so you have the textures, the crunchiness, how smooth the textures of how smooth it is, the textures of the fats, how sweet it is, how salty. It's called the bliss point, which is the combination of different different types of flavorings and sweetening. I mean, literally, Steve, this might be hard for you to believe, but they put sugar in everything. They put it in soup, sauces, bread. Why do they put that in there? Do they really need it in there? And not only that, Steve, this is really wild. They don't just sprinkle salt in there. They can grind down the salt into nanoparticles so tiny, it goes right into your tissues so fast. So this is another problem with ultra-processed foods. It goes into the body almost instantly, which this is not natural, okay? And so now we're getting this massive spike in insulin and blood sugars, and now you're addicted. And then someone tells you, well, just everything in moderation, just control yourself, which you can't. It's impossible. So the only way to solve that problem, Steve, is to don't buy it. Don't have it in your house, because if it is, and you're tired or hungry or bored, chances are you might go for it. So if you were to walk in my house right now, you would not be able to find any junk food, Steve. So
Rats. All right, out of sight, out of mind. Well,
that's why you don't come over.
Well, I know, but when I do, it's all delicious, thanks to Karen. All roads lead to home from YouTube. That's the person's handle. What are your thoughts and benefits on consuming raw honey?
So if you're on the keto, the honey is going to spike your blood sugars. There's sugar in it. Some people have very good metabolism where they can actually consume some honey. Because think about, like, just our bodies were evolved to maybe have honey occasionally, but not like every single day, right? But there are certain quality things in honey that are beneficial to a lot of things, to our immune system. There's immune factors in there. It's a whole chemistry of different, has different antioxidants, polyphenols. Because think about where the honey comes from. It comes from like all these plants all over the place. There's a fascinating honey in some of the countries in Asia and desert populations in Arabic countries that have very unique properties that people use for various things. And I've looked at that, and I was just like shocked. I was like, wow, fascinating. So I think that I'm not promoting honey, but I will say that it has some really interesting benefits.
Interesting.
It's a lot better than dextrose, and it's a lot better than regular beet sugar and cane sugar, if you were to compare them.
All right. Well, least of the evils. A fast lane from YouTube, another odd handle. What's the best meal to have when breaking a fast?
If you're doing like a one meal a day, you don't have to worry about that. Or even like probably 2 days of fasting, you don't have to really worry. But when you start getting in 3 days, 4 days, 5 days or longer, you have to break the fast with very small amounts of food and no carbs or sugar. So maybe some bone broth, maybe a little, like half of an egg or a little bit of avocado, and then wait for a while, have a little bit more of something, maybe a salad or something, wait for a little bit, and then start to introduce food slowly into the system. Don't do what I did. Just gorge on a ton of food. Oh my gosh, my whole system, you're literally putting your digestion in sleep mode, and then you're going to like force it to work really hard. That was a big mistake. When you're doing prolonged fasting, I know sometimes people do it for weight loss, and that's cool. And they're also adding in their intense exercise. And so that might be something that you want to do. But for most people, if you're doing it for health reasons, you want to take this prolonged fast and you want to let yourself rest. You don't want to exercise a lot. Maybe walking is fine, but don't do anything high intensity, because when you're doing fasting, you're doing all this healing and repair. Let your body go through that process, and you'll get better benefits than to put it under this huge stress mode.
Wow, well, I think this is a natural follow-up question. I'm going to skip into this one. Akita wants to know how to incorporate strength training and exercise with long period fast, 36 to 72 hours. Did you just answer that or anything to add to that?
I think you just have to look at the goal of what you're trying to do with prolonged fasting. Is it for health reasons, or is it just you want to lose more weight? And in that case, when you exercise in a fasted state, you're gonna obviously really create more effects on weight loss, because you're not eating anything, and then you're also going to tap into your blood sugars as well, so you're going to increase more fat burning.
Well, if that's your goal, yahoo! Elaine from YouTube, what are your thoughts on dental implants? Are there any associated health risks? That's a good question.
That is a good question. I would talk to a biological dentist. You just, obviously, when you start to do like root canals, that's different than what you're doing, but you start to drilling into bone and things like that. There's just you got to really know what you're doing, do it correctly, because there is known data that microbes that are inside your plaque and your arteries actually originated in your mouth. So if you're getting some type of leaky substance from your mouth into the bloodstream and it gets into the blood, it does increase the risk of clotting, because the immune system is going after it. I know people that had abscesses and then they on their gum, and then they went to the dentist and took a picture of it, and the entire underneath of the tooth is completely gone from this an infection, a hidden infection underneath the tooth, which can create massive problems for you, including arthritis and all sorts of things. And a lot of times this happens when they do root canals, because they're drilling, they're killing the tooth, but then they're killing the immune system and allows for pathogens to then exist. So biological dentist, with someone to get more further information on that, but it's a hidden source of a lot of problems that that you want to get a history of, like, especially if you're like me that had a lot of dental work, because I've lived on the bad foods my entire life.
All right. Very good. Emmy from YouTube, what would you recommend for someone with asthma?
Asthma and allergies usually come from people that maybe have not been breastfed or long enough, or C-section, or their environments were very sterile. They didn't develop that immune system strong enough, or they had early antibiotics, or too much assistance with their immune system. They didn't let the immune system develop strong enough. So one of the things that you want to do for asthma is you want to get more sun exposure. You want to get more vitamin D. That seems to be something that's very beneficial for asthmatics, and then also to build up the immune system with the other factors like zinc and things like that.
All right, Margaret from YouTube, I've had horrible back pain for months. Sorry to hear that. It really comes with a vengeance after eating. Could it be my pancreas?
I don't know, but I would definitely look at a couple things. Your vitamin D levels need to go way up. That usually can help lower back. But also kidney can refer pain to the lower back. If you're sitting a lot, you can have low back pain. What I like to do is get a foam roller and start working on the arch in my lower back. I do a lot of stretching, a tremendous amount of myofascial stretching. I should probably do a new video on some of the new stretches that I'm doing, reversing this posture, forward posture. And boy, my back has just really done very well. And then what happens is you favor the back, or you kind of baby it, and then to the point where those muscles become weaker and weaker. So there are exercises you can do on strengthening the lower back, which I've also done. And I have not had any low back problems from that since I've been doing that. So I'll have to create another video and some updated information on that.
Oh, that'd be great, Doc. There's a lot of people suffering that way. Deb 430 from YouTube, my liver and gallbladder have become enlarged. What remedy would you suggest to return them to normal size?
The remedy of going on a healthy, low-carb, ketogenic diet, highly recommend it. I would also recommend taking TUDCA, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening on an empty stomach. That'll open up the flow of bile from the liver, and it'll start to actually help you greatly. But chances are you need to work on the diet a lot more and also build up the microbiome, which will take a big stress off the liver.
All right, good. Steolita, interesting name from YouTube. I started Healthy Keto 3 months ago, but my recent tests show I have low HDL levels and high LDL levels. My triglycerides are within normal range, though. Any ideas? Is that a good or bad thing, Doc?
The big question is, are you on low carb? Because that would be something very important. If you are not going on low carb, get on low carb, and that should resolve your problems. If you are on low carb, it could mean that you have higher LDL, but the particle size is bigger. So you have the large buoyant particles, it's fine. It's fine. It's normal. There are certain populations that have certain genetics that tend to have higher amounts of cholesterol on low carb, and there's a lot more to say about that. You can watch videos on that. But if you wanted to increase your HDL, one of the best ways is to take niacin.
Ah, that's interesting. And by the way, she is on Healthy Keto, yours, I suppose. But anyway, so yeah, different types of LDL, and good luck with that. We hope that you continue on that path and just feel some glorious health. Chris from YouTube, why do I feel drained, stiff, and exhausted and brain fog after eating meat? That's interesting.
I think there could be a problem with you digesting it. You might not have the level of acid in your stomach to break down protein, in which case you wouldn't feel good. So start taking betaine hydrochloride before you eat. Maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 of those before you eat, and see if that doesn't help you. And if you still have a problem after a week, then maybe you need to are you eating too much meat? Maybe you need to increase the quality. Maybe then you need to then change the type of protein. Maybe you're going to do better with fish or eggs, sardines, things like that.
All right, very good. We have not heard from Mom of 300s from Rumble for a while, so welcome back. What can I do before cataract surgery that could help with healing? And do you have any thoughts about removing birthmark in the eye? Would red light therapy help?
Yeah, I don't know about the birthmark. I don't think you're going to be able to change that. I don't know. But I will say there's something called N-acetylcarnosine, and you could find it in drops. That actually helps. It's like an antioxidant that penetrates and helps actually get rid of cataracts, but it also prevents cataracts too. So the thing with cataracts is if you're older, you want to be careful about getting too much direct sun in the eyes itself. But then again, you need the infrared. So campfire, fireplace, incandescent lights, it's going to give you a little bit, but you probably, more sun maybe in the morning or in the evening to get that infrared is going to be very beneficial to the eye. And then as far as your eating goes, you want to make sure that you are consuming a real healthy diet to be able to have the antioxidants necessary to counter the oxidation that occurs and causes these cataracts.
All right, Suseth from YouTube, what's the best remedy for nasal congestion?
Well, is it all year round? And that means it's a fungal infection, in which case you probably need to do they have red light and they have blue light therapy up into your nostrils. I mean, it does work. But you then want to change the diet and cut out any type of refined sugars, because that's what fungus loves. But let's say it's seasonal, then it could be allergies. But then you could also have from one of the big side effects from an antibiotic or a loss of microbes would be a secondary sinus infection, believe it or not, because you're losing the full microbiome. The microbe that you need in the sinuses actually is in kimchi. So if you bought some kimchi, buy it raw, and you just take a drop and dilute it in water. And I have a video on this, and you do a nasal flush, you can actually help the sinuses. So I think a salt flush of the sinuses with then followed up with putting that micro back in might be a good thing. I have a lot of videos on sinus congestion. You should watch them because it's not just one thing you're going to do. You have to just figure out what problem you have in the first place.
All right, I don't want to leave Febin hanging from YouTube. Let's get one more in. I'm struggling with hypothyroidism. Help, says Febin.
So most of the hypothyroid is Hashimoto's, in which case there's a whole protocol of taking more vitamin D, selenium. I have videos on this. Avoiding like the plague any type of grains, especially with gluten. Okay, modern wheat is just it's a killer for thyroid. But let's say it's not Hashimoto's. Let's say it's just regular hypothyroidism. You can actually help that by doing high quality foods and getting your diet corrected. And then you may need more trace minerals. You might need more iodine. You might need support on the liver and gallbladder to be able to convert T4 to T3. So again, I have videos that go through this details. You should watch those. On that note, have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.